Go ahead. You get to tell everybody how you got a pinched nerve dying so they can feel sorry for you. Maybe those and flowers. Good morning. Good morning. Don't you love it? Coming right at the very beginning of a little tip. It's not a tip.
We're not tiffing.
We're not tiffing. He's hurt. So just real quick. You ready? Did you get your coffee yet? Okay, I'm Amber. This is Tim. We're two of the 5 members of the Bradshaw family that used to live in an urban city environment in Pawleys Island, South Carolina. Got a wild hair midlife crisis, if you call it. Decided to, hey, let's close our business, sell everything we own, and move off grid in the mountains of East Tennessee, a place that we never visited before, and completely lose our mind. Live off the land, raise livestock, and just go crazy. Good morning. Grab your coffee. How are you today? Good morning, Tammy. How are you? So we're isolated just a little bit. You might call it cabin fever, but we do actually get out and see other humans. However, we started this little video vlog thingy a couple years ago, 2.5 years ago, because I was extremely lonely, couldn't talk to anybody, no Wi-Fi signal, no cell signal, and I missed my friends and family, and I couldn't share with them everything that was going on. So we decided to have coffee together on live video, YouTube. We started on Facebook, then Facebook blocked me because they didn't like the content I talked about. So we moved to YouTube, and we'll be here until they block me, and then we'll go somewhere else. So good morning.
Wow.
Yeah. All before my first sip of coffee. Can you imagine? So we're nothing special. Nothing special at all. We just talk about our life. You guys share about yours. We chit chat, have coffee, and we just share our lives together. Don't go lonely, you know? Nice to know we're not the only ones out in the world. So how are you doing, Mr. I Got a Pinched Nerve?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Wait. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm doing good. We're working and getting a lot of things done.
Doing good. You can hardly sit up straight
right now.
Well,
yeah, I got a pinched nerve in my back, but I'm gonna.
Can you make your head come higher than your shoulders? Here, sit up straight.
Oh,
Maybe
man.
that'll help. There we go. There we go. There, it's even with my muscle rub.
Yeah.
I make amazing muscle rub, just so you know.
Man.
Okay, that's better. You look just weird earlier. You look. Oh, I know who you look like. You know the little friend on Coraline.
Yeah.
The little boy.
Yeah.
What's his name?
I don't know.
He's like, his head's way down here and his shoulders are way up there. If they sewed the buttons on his mouth or his mouth shut. His little.
All right, let's move on.
Anyways, Timmy's not feeling well this morning because he's got a pinched nerve. I do have empathy with that because I had it a couple weeks ago and was miserable. And every day I was begging him just to dig his elbow in my shoulder. It was like a lower shoulder blade and just release that pain. And he did. But it's like the moment he stopped, it came right back. And I couldn't even turn my head to the side. So I get it. I didn't do all that. And then, you know, and
it gets you, the pain, it just shoots through you, and it kind of takes your breath.
It does. But when you deal with monthly cramps, that ain't nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thank God for that.
He kind of does. Tammy knows what I'm talking about. Although last night you were sweet. You're like, I wish I could take it away for you. When I was talking about my cramps. I said, do you wish you could have it instead of me? He goes, no, I just wish I could take it away for you. He was all sweet for like that long.
Well, I guess I kept talking, and you know, sometimes when you say something nice and you keep talking, you end up just removing everything,
all the niceness.
Yeah.
So we haven't. I don't know. I don't think we did live last Sunday.
No, we didn't.
But we did go to a really neat canning class, and it was. Why didn't we do live last Sunday? It might have been raining.
Yeah, it was raining. Sorry.
Is it too much? He's stretching it out. I guess I laughed at him too much. I'm sorry, baby. So here's a little tidbit about me that a lot of people don't know. Not that they ever asked, they just assumed. I have never used a pressure canner. Nope, never used one. I'm one of those people that walk around still living saying I do it like my grandma did it. Although my grandma never taught me canning, my mom haphazardly did. And I've just done it on and on, off and on all these years. Another tidbit, have never canned meat. And rightfully so, because I haven't used a pressure canner. Last year, the kids, are you going to try to stretch it out? You need to raise that arm over your shoulder. See if you can't stretch it out a little bit. I'd give you something to take, but you haven't eaten nothing in your belly yet. Are you walking away? Are you okay?
Just go ahead and do your live.
Well, I don't want to do it without you.
Well,
You half
right
of
here.
me. He's back. I won't tease him no more. He's in pain. In front of his face, anyways. I won't do that no more.
Yeah, do it behind my back.
I worship he.
I
So anyhow, no, we haven't canned meat before. And generally it hasn't been a huge concern, or I wouldn't say priority, but this is here's the deal. Our freezers are full, jam-packed full. And if we lose power, like we did last year, not us up here that live off grid, but our freezers are connected to the grid down in the holler at the cabin where cabin stays. And we lost power for a week. Now, thankfully, it was winter and they stayed cold. But I mean, we're talking a couple $1,000s worth of meat that could potentially go bad if we lose power and we don't have a secondary source for it. So thankfully, we do have generators in the case if it happens, but you always like to plan for the what ifs. And hunting season's coming up, and I want to process some more rabbits. So it would be in our best interest to start canning some of our meat. So anyhow, last Sunday we attended, there's a little prepper group that we hooked up with. They got us to teach a soap making class. We liked it. We liked the people. It's a great connection to have. And they do some really neat topics. And last week was pressure canning meat. So what did you think about it? And there's more guys than girls in this group, just so you know.
Well, anytime you learn to preserve food, I mean, it's really,
It's a good
I think
thing.
it's really important. And, there's a lot of little details and things that
Like
you know,
burping the meat.
that we walked away with that, come
Little
in handy
nuggets.
in making, and doing it right. And I think that in the future, we're going to be able to do it successfully and not have to worry about losing power and food going bad or rushing to try to get it
Cooked or preserved. Yeah.
cooked or preserved in a rush.
In an emergency. And
Yeah.
that's what creates panic that we're going to talk about real quick.
That's when you start doing things and messing up and making mistakes. And,
Don't want to kill anybody.
Yeah, you don't want to blow.
Don't want to blow up your house. So my mom made me deathly afraid of pressure canners, and I never got over it. And then some of y'all know Liberal Linda in our groups. I don't know if she watches this live anymore. She's been canning and pressure canning almost her entire life. Her family was a family of ranchers. She grew up that way. She does push the limit sometimes on safety, but she's not stupid. I mean, she does it right. Last year, she almost killed herself. I think it was last year. It might have been the year before by now. Made herself chicken noodle soup. Didn't let it cool down before she released the pressure. Took the jar out. It exploded and it severed her artery, and she almost bled to death. Freak accident. That's why I don't pressure can. But last year we actually found a pressure canner during the beginning of the pandemic, and Gavin bought me one year before last. It wasn't a pandemic. Gavin bought me one because last year it was my freezer that the kids got me. A pressure canner, took it out, went to go use it, had all of the stuff ready to go. I can't remember what we were getting ready to can, but I had it. And read the instructions, and it said, do not use on a propane burner. That's all we had. That's all we have. So I
Yeah.
put it back in the box, let it collect dust under my cabinet, and there it sits. But
I think what we walked away with was very
you can do
important
it
because you can do it because the gas is more
consistent.
consistent, yeah, in the heating up process and keeping that temperature, the same, throughout.
The pressure.
Yeah,
But, and then we learned the pressure for here. It's 15 pounds of pressure for where we live, specifically in the mountains. Because the girl who taught the class lives in the same city. So that's, or town.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. That was great golden nugget that we walked away with. And the other one, I mean, we just learned a plethora of information that I absolutely adored and I appreciated because it was the type of burner. It's not your just regular old single burner on your grill because your pressure canner is going to have a lot of weight in it. You don't want to do that. Those little Bobo side burners aren't held up with nothing but a piece of aluminum or stainless steel, just a tiny little piece. So what we have is like a turkey fryer, and it distributes the heat better. And my friend Sharon from Simply Canning, if you guys know her, she's a real famous canner. She's wrote books and has courses and all sorts of stuff. She's like the pioneer of our day and age of canning. She told me, she says, over time with those outdoor cookers, because it distributes that heat just in one spot in the bottom of the pan, versus if you had a gas stove, it's a little wider. She goes, you just need to keep an eye on that bottom, make sure that metal doesn't get thin or that you push it or there's any issues with the bottom of your pressure canner. So that's that on that. So we'll be pressure canning soon.
It would be nice to have like a piece of steel, a steel plate.
Would that steel plate heat up enough though, Timmy?
Yeah, with gas, yes, it will.
And it
especially
will heat up the canner enough?
If it was cast iron, if you could have that to be able to, probably cast iron would do better because cast iron, the heat goes in one area and it distributes out. So
I'm afraid of my pressure canner. Girl, me and you are on the same page. Yep, same page. I will do it outside. I will wear glasses probably because I can't see, and you got glasses too. I think you have. Yeah, you wear glasses, don't you, Tammy?
I was surprised to hear how sensitive the jars are in taking one out if it's still too hot,
too cold. Make sure it's if you got to have a warm jar, warm meat, warm broth, or warm liquid, and warm canner, or cold canner, cold water, cold jar, cold food. You can only do it one of two ways. You can't mix the two together.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to do the cold pack method. And when she did the raw packed meat, no liquid, no nothing. It cooks in its own juice. You just have to have it 3/4. I got 4 pages of notes. But anyhow, that's what we did Sunday, and we were really grateful for it. And we've actually had a pretty big week. But today, and we'll talk about more later because we've got a lot of exciting news. But today, we got a busy day where we haven't even talked about it. And I got like 5 things on my plate I need to address. But what I wanted to talk about, because this is the most pressing on my mind, is prepping and stocking our shelves. And if you haven't noticed in your part of the world or your neck of the woods, things are getting slim pickings out there. And the pickings that are to be had are increased in price, and your paycheck hasn't. So that can be problematic.
Yeah, it's usually one goes up and the other one stays the same.
So when and I don't want to create panic buying. That's the bad thing too. Is like you have one person, all it takes is one go, oh, there was no toilet paper today. And then so the person that hears that, they go to the store, they see toilet paper, they're like, I'm going to go ahead and get toilet paper because it's going to be out here. So they buy the whole shelf, or they buy half the shelf. And then here you create shortages. Yeah. And we already have shortages. So you don't want to panic buy, but you do want to be smart.
I think with the things that's happened in the past,
and never empty the whole shelf. That's greedy.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the stores haven't put a limit on things. So
they have again. I mean, that's what stimulated this conversation. I've been talking about meat shortages for a while because a month ago I went, or over a month ago, and there was no chicken. And then I went again and there was something else that wasn't there. And somebody posted in a group I am, they took pictures of it and there was no meat, no canned meat, no packaged meat, no frozen meat, none. And so now we're going to have a huge, everything that's going on because of COVID is going to have these long-term ramifications. There is, hang on, I could see some things. I can't see this. There was a limit on ice here a couple of weeks ago. Well, now we have that during hurricane season, which is still hurricane season. And there's another hurricane out there getting ready to pound somebody. I can't remember because they said they were preparing for evacuation. And we don't have the news, so it's hard for me to keep up sometimes. But there was always bread, milk, and ice. We're like, what are you going to do with bread and milk? You know, bread, milk, and ice. You can never find. Oh, and water bottles, which I get. But anyhow, and everything from the pandemic is, I call it scamdemic, is going to have long-term effects. Now, top that onto people not working, trucks not driving, no one can get employees. That is nationwide. That's not anything that's just privy here to my little neck of the woods. That's nationwide, thanks to this extended, insane unemployment and whatever else they got going on. Because there's plenty of jobs. There shouldn't be one person unemployed in the United States unless they're physically enabled to work. Then, on top of that, you have droughts, fires, floods. God isn't not happy right now with all the sin going on in the world, and it's showing. I'm telling you that right now. It's showing.
I think he's giving us a taste of the rapture.
Taste of well, not the rapture. The rapture is the good part of the tribulation.
The tribulation.
A little taste. I think it is a wake up call, to tell you the truth. He's like, look, this is just a taste. I hear some people going, oh, we're in the tribulation. You haven't read the book of Revelations, brother. This is nothing. This is just a little scratch on the surface, honey. But it's a wake up call. It's like, get the people you know saved. Get the people that you know prepared. And that's kind of where we're at, you know, is if you have fear of losing your job, you're going to be complacent to whatever you're told to do in order to keep that job. If you have fear of losing electricity, you're going to do whatever the electric company tells you you need to do to keep that electric on. If you fear starving or eating, you're going to do whatever you need to do to make sure you and your family have food. That is the control that prepping and being self-sufficient and homesteading and living off grid remove from other people having you over your life. And that's why it's important, because I don't want to be under that control, to feel like I have to make decisions that are against my moral standards or my ethics in order to be able to provide or survive. And that's why we do what we do.
I think it's a good thing to have a day or so where you kind of practice and just pretend like you don't have electricity and just go through, make sure you got all either your lanterns or your candles
and that's a good, I think we need to continue this conversation and expand more, like what Timmy was just talking about, to off-grid prepping. I think that's really good, especially like last year. It doesn't have to be some type of, a country cuts our grid or, a solar flare. It could just be Mother Nature. It could be the floods that are going on right now. Yeah. It could be that they have to turn the power off because of the forest fires. There's a lot of different case scenarios that it can fall under. But right now, I want to talk about stocking our shelves. I see people on both extremes. A lot of times, and I'm not quite sure if you have seen it, if you're in any prepper groups, but there are rows and rows and rows of junk food. Most of it's still boxed, most of it's still packaged, or boxes and boxes of those, what are those? I call them MREs, but I don't think that's the right name for them. They're the flash dried or froze, dried, the military meals, and they taste like junk, and they've got hundreds of dollars invested in them. There's a huge problem with a lot of this. One is, for us, let's not say, everybody, but just for us. One, I'm allergic to most ingredients and all that junk. Can't do it. 2, don't like the taste of it. 3, it's not stuff that we eat. 4, that's way too much. So if you're going to start prepping, you're going to start stocking. First, stop, unless it's something of a highly valued barter item like coffee, nicotine, alcohol, first aid, right? Garden seeds, vegetable seeds, unless you have them vacuum sealed and store them in a cool, dark place, the viability goes down every year. So it doesn't do you any good to buy thousands of seeds and just store them on your shelf somewhere, because chances are by the time you go to plant them or need to plant them, they're not going to be viable. The same thing with food. What we found recently, what did we just find out about storing food in our pantry recently, or I should say the last 2 months?
There's things living in them.
There's bugs that live in your food. MRE, I got it? Oh, I got it. Thanks, Tammy. There's things living in your food, and that is normal. So don't get grossed out. Don't think just because you get stuff from the store that it's just pure. It's not. There's things, meal ready to eat. Thank you. I thought it was MREs. I just couldn't remember. There's things living in your food. Pantry moths, for instance, weevils, all those things. So if you buy boxes and boxes of pasta, flour, oats, grains, there's critters living in it. And if you don't address that situation, your pantry in your house could be full of those little bugs and your food will be ruined. Ask me how I know. He's like been at the Wimbledon with that little zapping tennis racket. And do you know what I found out about pantry moths? They should die like every other insect in less than 30 days.
I think we're at the end of the cycle.
You better get over here and knock on some wood, honey.
So yeah, they thinned out.
So here's the tip about that. Freeze for 48 hours all of your pastas, your rice, your grains. Put in the freezer for 48 hours. That will kill any of the larvae and bugs that are in them. After that, take them out of the original box and store them in a food safe, secure, airtight ones with a tight lid. Cut out the instructions and what it is. Put it in that box with it. Take you some masking tape and date it on the outside with a name. That's what we're starting to do. And I've got a long way to go, but that will help you with your food storage lasting longer. Next thing, the tip is FIFO, first in, first out. Rotate your food. That first front, and every time you go to the store, take your other stuff and put it behind it. First one in is the first one out, and that will help you keep up with your dates and your packaging and stuff. You don't need a lot of money to start your food preps. The Dollar Tree, a friend of mine, Erica, she just posted her Dollar Tree preps. Dollar Tree's got organic cane sugar for $1. Same bag at Walmart for like $5 or $6. They also have other things like your oil, stock up on a ton of oils. It's crazy. Don't buy stuff with a short shelf life. But any of the rice at the regular grocery store, but there's a lot of things that you can get the food preservation. For instance, we just do the freezer. We just discussed what problem that would have if the power goes out. So, what other methods other than freezing food do we have for preservation? You have canning, pressure canning and water bath canning. You have salt cured. You can preserve a lot of things with salt. Smoking is another way to preserve food. Pickling is another great way to preserve food. The wax seal is another way to preserve food. And then, what am I missing? Well, there's the water was it water glassing or water gassing? The eggs that you could do with the lime and the water. That you can do that for up to a year. Several friends have done it. I want to say it's water glassing, but I think I might have that wrong. You can correct me in the comments and let me know. That works with your, that works with your eggs. Dehydrating, just plain old dehydrating. And then the freeze drying. But you need one of those fancy machines for that. That costs like over $3,000 and it has to connect to 220. And that's just a lot of money and a lot of electricity. But it's a way to preserve food. So get yourself familiar with that because that will help you stock your shelves. But the main things are, don't buy things you're not going to eat. Don't buy things that are going to go bad. Buy a little bit at a time. And don't try to plan meals too that don't take 1,000 ingredients. Just do something easy like Perlo, or chicken bog, or I guess it's just chicken and rice. But it's a great meal and it fills you up and it has your protein, it has your starch, and then put a vegetable on the side.
But I think a lot of people in prepping, they get a lot of food and store it, and it gives them the sense of security.
It does. My pantry makes me feel good every time I walk in it.
I think when it comes, if it ever came down to it, they would look at it as like, I really don't want to eat that. But
you're scared to eat it.
Yeah.
Then you won't have preps.
So
water glassing. Thank you, Tammy.
Definitely get the things that you eat. Anytime you have rice and beans and things that you can, that are dry that you can cook. So and the canning the meat, that just adds to it right there. So those are 3 items right there.
Make a full meal.
That you can eat on it for
a long time.
A long time.
Another thing is, don't let your canning jars go empty. If you have canning jars, put water in them. Can the water. Don't waste that precious space in your food storage for just empty jars. Do something with them. You can vacuum seal your canning jars and put your bagged rice and beans in it. That preserves it, that seals it, and they're ready to go for the time that you need them. Vacuum sealing your beans and rice, that helps preserve, extend their shelf life too.
Another nugget that we got was as far as putting the water in it and bringing that up to temperature and sterilizing it.
Oh yeah.
And using it for first aid.
For your sterilized water for wounds and such.
There's a lot there that could really help you in a tough time.
But we feel, we've got a full pantry, and what I've said, it does make me feel good. But I look at it and I can count it, and it's nowhere near enough for our family for the whole year. Months, sure, absolutely. Years, And I guess it all depends on what you're prepping for, is how big your storage is. So if you're just starting out prepping, start off with a week, or even smaller, 3 days. See if you have 3-day supply of everything that you need to function, whether that be animal food, water, toilet paper, medicine. Go from your 3 days and expand. Then go, okay, I've got enough for our whole family if we were stuck here for 3 days, and then move to 2 weeks. And then after you move for 2 weeks and you're in that comfort zone and you still got enough room to store more, then move up to 3 months. And 3 months is a good start for anybody, because pretty much in 3 months you can grow, if you have the availability, food to replace what you've used in stock. That's 90 days. There's a lot of different foods that you could grow to live off of in 90 days. So 3 months, I think, is the goal for most people that they should try to achieve without leaving your house. Now we're not there as far as not having to leave our house for 3 months. We would run out of livestock feed. We would run out of my medicine. We would run out of animal feed for our dogs. I definitely wouldn't have enough dairy. I wouldn't have enough cheese, milk. Well, just cheese and milk. Because I was going to say I do have enough butter probably for 3 months. And we do have dairy goats. So they can kid every 3 months. I would just put them together and hopefully magic would happen. That's how long. Is it 3 months? Or is that pigs? Shoot, I think my goats is 5 months.
Didn't you say we had some powdered milk?
We do have powdered milk. Yep. We do have powdered milk. And a pinch, and we have powdered creamer. But those are where some of our holes are. Those are where our gaps are that we need to work on. But it doesn't hurt, even if we're not expecting doom and gloom. It does not hurt to have at least 3 months worth of supplies, if at all possible, and shoot for that 3 days, 2 weeks, and then go from there.
So yeah, when you get down to it and you start thinking about if we got to the point where we didn't have power, we didn't have propane, and we were in a struggle to try and
Oh yeah, we would lose propane if we had 3 months.
Yeah, if to make all this work, we would definitely be to the point where we would be using wood to do all of this. So it would definitely be in our favor to work with this and try to get a system so we could properly heat things. As far as if you were only using rainwater, being able to sterilize that so you can properly pack your food or cook your food. So
purify it, sterilize it. Yeah.
So it's probably going to come down to that, So you need to really,
well, just like anything, it's best to do these skills before you need to have these skills. If you have a gun and don't know how to shoot it, you better start going to the range. If you have a fishing pole and don't know how to, bait it, and you don't know where to fish, you need to go ahead and practice. None of these preps do any good if you don't know how to use a skill when called upon. And in an emergency is the worst time to learn anything. You're in a panic, you're stressed, there's pressure, and all of that equals failure.
Yeah.
So
with no doubt, there are going to be times you're going to learn something in the struggle. I mean,
you will. You'll learn that you should have prepared ahead of time.
Yeah. So
that's what we learn.
You're going to walk away with something.
Just like, for instance, when Timmy got sick a couple months ago, I instantly knew within the first 24 hours where our holes were. What we need to work on, and we still haven't addressed all those issues. But there are some major ones, like this house can't function without him very well. I can't do a lot of things by myself. We don't have a secondary means if someone got the stomach bug and started throwing up all over, what to do with it, where to do the cleanup. Because of the way that we live, it's so different than how we were accustomed to. None of those measures are in place. So those are preps that we need to continue to address and fix. Because it's not just if it'll happen, it's when it'll happen. Things are just going to happen. And to remove that fear, like I said, that control that something has over you, you need to work on self-sufficiency. You don't have to, self-sufficiency does not mean you have to do it by yourself. You can work with others or like-minded people to glean these skills so you can. Oh, you look pretty. Lyndon's all decked out and yeah. Okay. You can't wear those short shorts. All right. Well, we're going to get going, y'all. We will talk to you later because we do have a lot going on. Timmy's working on our compost area. I'm really excited to share the pictures about that. And we were inspired by Zach and Jamie from American Homestead. If you don't watch their YouTube channel, they're amazing. Well, Jamie passed away. She got cancer. And Zach's still doing the videos, but all of their videos are amazing for the last several years. And that's composting, something that we've done for over a decade. And we had a system similar to what we're building, but now we're doing it in a different capacity. And it's looking good.
Yeah.
Lyndon Elaine, get you out.
It's going to be big. And I think it's going to work out for all of the things that, we're going to be composting.
I can see us expanding on it though.
Yeah. But I mean, I think we've got enough to get us by,
And now we're going to have separate bins for like glass and tin and stuff, right?
I think that's going to be added on to it for recycling.
And like a bear or animal protective one for just our plain old trash that we can't recycle or break down.
Yeah. So
I'm excited. We haven't had one in 3 years and I've missed it desperately. But anyhow, all right. Well, y'all have a blessed day. Tammy, thanks for joining, and anybody else that's watching us for coffee. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
And
we do.
we hopefully will have some information that we can share with you this week. I'm looking at my schedule right now. And Lyndon's back and dance, and she's excited about that. That's pretty much all that's going on with her at the moment, other than we're still homeschooling. We never stopped. We do it all year long. There's always opportunity to learn. Always opportunity to learn. But we got a bus to move this morning. So you guys have a blessed day.
Thanks for putting up with us.
I know.